Welcome to the Justice Room. Your life, your rights, your options. Experience and learn from discussions with legal professionals and other experts about the law, its challenges, and how it could affect you. Here at the Justice Room. Welcome to the Justice Room. Welcome to the Justice Room. This is your host, Jay Jacome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about driving while license suspended, canceled, or revoked, and how it can lead to a felony arrest. To talk with us a little bit about this topic, we've brought in Mr. Kevin Prue, attorney at law. Thanks for coming on the show, Mr. Prue.
Thanks for having me.
He's with the law offices of Kemp and Prue, and located in Altamont Springs, Florida. He's worked, I don't know how many of these type of style cases, but why don't you tell us a little bit about if someone is not arrested, but cited for driving while license suspended. Now, there's a couple of different things that they need to know about. There's a couple of different ways that can happen. It could be with, or it can be without knowledge. And there's this habitual traffic offender law that's come into place. That do you want to tell us a little bit about how that can affect the everyday person?
Yes, that's correct. The habitual traffic offender statute is ultimately what our clients wish to avoid. And unbeknownst to many people, if you're cited for driving with license suspended or revoked without knowledge, it's a civil citation, and most people just opt to pay the ticket. If you do that, you're automatically adjudicated guilty or convicted of that civil citation.
Okay, so now so that the people understand a little more, an adjudication means exactly
that you're formally convicted of a crime if you're charged with a crime, or in this case, a civil citation.
Okay.
And it's an important word to understand, because with the civil citation, if the adjudication is withheld, then you're not formally convicted, and it does not operate as one of the 3 strikes within 5 years that could habitualize you.
Okay, now if you're let's talk about what is a habitual offender. Okay, because my understanding here could be is that just the everyday person can be categorized as a habitual offender. You may not even know that you've been categorized as a habitual offender.
That's correct. There's several ways that you can become habitualized under this statute, and what I'm here to talk about today is how you can receive civil citations where you just pay tickets and you could be subjected to a felony charge, because if you are driving after having been designated a habitual traffic offender, that is a third-degree felony offense, or possibly could be a third-degree felony offense.
Okay, but now let's talk about how you can get a driving while license suspended. And I'm gonna go more specific to Florida. Okay. I mean, heck, this has even happened to me. All right, so you're driving down our toll highways, and you have the mechanisms that pay tolls on vehicles, and most states have it, but here in Florida we have it. And if for some reason it fails to register and you don't pay the toll, you're subject to a fine. If you don't pay the fine, you're subject to have your driver's license suspended. Now, it has happened to people that I even know, and where they've had their driver's license suspended, didn't even know it.
Correct.
Okay, so now that happens to you 3 times. Now you're categorized as a habitual offender. Is that what you're saying?
That would be correct if you paid the tickets without seeking a withhold of adjudication. That would be correct.
Okay, so mom, dad, anybody out there could technically have or be categorized. Now, what happens if you get categorized as a habitual offender?
You will lose your driver's license. Your driver's license will be revoked for a period of 5 years. The first year would be what we refer to as a hard suspension, where you would not be eligible for a hardship license.
Hardship meaning? Where
you can just drive to work, grocery store, your lawyer's office, doctor's office, essentials.
Okay, so they would not be able to do that for the first year?
Correct.
Okay, and that's once they've been labeled as a habitual offender?
That's correct.
Okay.
And if you are caught driving under that designation, you could be charged with a third-degree felony, depending on what the underlying charge was of the first, or the DWILIS, that we call them DWILIS, is driving with license suspended or revoked, what the third DWILIS was predicated on. And what I mean by that is if it was the reason was money, like you didn't pay a ticket or you didn't pay child support, then that would be charged as a first-degree misdemeanor. But if it was a point suspension that ended up revoking your license under the habitual traffic offender statute, that it would likely be charged as a third-degree felony. But if you receive a ticket for driving with your license suspended or revoked without knowledge, under Florida statutes, if you have not exercised this election within the past 12 months, you are automatically eligible to receive the withhold. All you have to do is ask the clerk of court for it. So instead of mailing in your ticket to pay it, if you went down to the clerk's office, paid the ticket, and said, I want my withhold, under the statute, they have to give it to you.
Okay, so wait. So now, let's say, for example, I got a ticket in May of 2010. We're now in August. And I paid the ticket. I just mailed it in. Can I go back to the courthouse, now being August, now that I know this, and ask them to withhold adjudication on the ticket that I've already paid in May?
You can ask them. Most likely what they're going to tell you is that you need to file a motion with the court. And
a motion to do what exactly?
There's a motion that I use called motion to amend to reflect a withhold of adjudication. So we're asking the court to essentially go back in the record and realize that he or she made a mistake by not requesting what they're statutorily entitled to, and asking them to go back in and fix it. So, for example, many of my clients have a combination of some of the things that would operate as what we call one of the 3 strikes within a 5-year period that might habitualize someone. And they get this civil citation duelis and they pay it. Then they get a notice in the mail from Tallahassee saying, well, you're now a habitual traffic offender and your license is revoked for 5 years. That's usually the first time these people decide that they need to talk to a lawyer, because most people that find themselves in these situations have had no criminal offenses in their past. They've had no experience with the criminal justice system.
Well, I think it would even be safe to say that something like this would also be something that even somebody that's been in the system, I mean, may not even know that this is the
That's
case.
correct also, but people that have been through the criminal justice system are more apt to contact a lawyer whenever they come in contact with law enforcement, because at this time they've learned what they don't know. But people that have never been affiliated or been in trouble with the law, then they get a ticket. They're law-abiding citizens. They want to do what they're told to do, and one of the options is just to pay your ticket, not knowing that they can subject themselves to losing their driver's license for 5 years and a possible felony down the road.
I mean, so most people out there, I mean, even like myself, because it could happen to anybody. You know,
Absolutely.
It could anybody out there, and I'm an investigator for a living, and you're an attorney, and I've got friends that are doctors and engineers, and they've told me at one point or another that they've all of a sudden been pulled over and didn't even realize that their driver's license was suspended only because of a toll road violation that they were not even aware of. Now, all they did was go in and pay the ticket and resolve it through the standard means, which is pay the ticket and fill in the paperwork and you're done. Now, if this happens to an everyday person like me, how many times in 5 years?
3 times.
So you have 3 times in 5 years, and now my license is revoked
for
5 years, and I can't even get a hardship license to do my job for a year.
That's correct.
Now, that just seems quite intense for some people. So if you have, explain a little bit about why it's important for the people to get a withhold if they come across this situation, if they find themselves here. Why is it important that they do not wait until they have an HTO file?
Because language is very important.